Hello and welcome to the Ilene Silverman Show. I'm your host Ilene, and on this week's program, our guests from the nonprofit organization Community Spring share their mission of advancing economic justice by breaking the cycle of poverty and mass incarceration. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us for our program. I'm delighted to introduce my guest, Lindsay Coleman, co-founder and executive director of Community Spring, and Kelly Lynch, operations manager for Community Spring. And I'm so delighted, Lindsay and Kelly, that you were here so that we can talk about Community Spring, because I have prepared for this show in such a way that now I know Community Spring is not this, but it's this and this and this, and it's a wonderful organization. And Lindsay, we go way back, Gainesville natives. I know your parents, Clayton and Linda, and I was there a year ago when you received your recognition from the Girl Scouts of Gateway Council as a woman who makes a difference. Kelly, you would agree. This is a woman who makes a difference.
100%. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Definitely. So take us to Washington, D.C., to your co-founder husband, Max Tipper, and what gave you this idea? Well, first explain what Community Spring is.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. And thank you so much for having us on the show.
Of course.
So Community Spring is an economic justice organization. We work to disrupt the cycle of poverty and mass incarceration. And I'll tell you a little bit about how we got there.
Please.
So my husband and I, Max Tipping, we have been working in anti-poverty work and social justice work for our whole careers. As you mentioned, I was born and raised in Gainesville. Really a proud Gator, a proud ACR, but I left after high school, and I spent most of my adult life and career in Washington, D.C., where I worked in federal policy, and Max, who's an attorney, worked in housing justice at the district level. And one of the things that we really felt and saw as we were working in the policy field is how the people closest to the problems, who are closest to the solutions, are left out of the decisions. Right? And so these policy...
They're caught in the middle.
Exactly. And when we think about change making and change makers, we really wanted to bring in the people who were impacted most. So we founded Community Spring, we came back to Gainesville, and we wanted to start it in our hometown and in the South. That was really important to us. And so we started just as an economic justice organization. Okay. And what we learned over the last few years of doing this work and really co-creating the work alongside impacted people is that the system of mass incarceration is both a cause and effect of poverty in a very real way, which is why we decided to further hone our mission and really look at this cycle of poverty and mass incarceration.
Wow, I understand. Kelly, we're privileged that you came back to Gainesville, Florida to do this, because how long have you been a part of Community Spring, and how did it begin for you?
Yeah, so I became a part of Community Spring as a fellow in 2023. Community Spring has a fellowship where we hire impacted people to do policy work. And so I had no idea what any of that meant, to be clear. But I knew that Community Spring was doing like really cool things, and I saw language I'd never seen before, and they cared about people with records and changing systems so that people with records could have a real chance at life. And I was like, what is this place? I want to be a part of it. And so in 2023, I became a fellow.
Wow. And now here you are, operations manager, and working alongside Lindsay and Max and so many other fine people to make this all happen.
Yeah, I'm overseeing the fellowship now. So that's really cool. Full circle for me.
It is.
Yeah.
That's exceptional. And I know we're going to run out of time, but just leave us with this one thought that to me, it means so much that no one should be too poor to be free. That is kind of astounding.
Yeah, so I mean, what we're describing here is how people, when they're coming home from incarceration, are often saddled with carceral debt, fines and fees. They have to pay for an ankle monitor, mandatory drug tests, probation fees, and it's the same people who have the least opportunity for employment because there's stigma. There's
Right.
often, rules against hiring people with records, and so this just perpetuates the cycle.
That you can't break out of.
Yep.
Except there is Community Spring to help you. And we're going to talk more about that. Just taking a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're back discussing Community Spring with Executive Director Lindsay Coleman and Operations Manager Kelly Lynch. And Kelly and Lindsay, to continue our conversation. We were talking about the phrase, no one is too poor to be free. And you, Kelly, were explaining, giving us more insight about that. Continue with the conversation.
Yeah, we believe that no one should be too poor to be free. And one of the local statistics that we pull that from is that in Alachua County, 23% of probation violations are due to a lack of money. And so what we mean by that is that in the county, almost a quarter of probation violations come from a failure to pay something. So that could be failure to pay for a class, failure to pay a supervision fee, failure to pay for your drug test, but that, like specifically in that 23%, that violation code is a failure to pay, which is already a huge number, right? A quarter of people that are being violated on probation and ending up back in jail, it's due to a failure to pay.
Then
But-
they can't pay again.
I mean,
It's just
yeah,
a
we're
cycle.
not.
There's that cycle.
There's that cycle, and so what's also important about that is that the people and the numbers and the circumstances that aren't captured in that 23%. The other ways that poverty and conditions of poverty create a probation violation. So like transportation problems,
Right.
or being isolated and not having childcare, and your child is sick and you can't go. Those would look like a different violation, but they're due to poverty. And I have an example just from my own story.
Please share.
So I didn't end up violating over this, but I almost did. And I was on my way. I had part of the conditions of my probation was a required mental health evaluation. I had gone through addiction and I had drug charges, and part of my sentence was to go get a mental health and drug treatment evaluation. And I had to get that done in a short time period after
Right.
release, so within 30 days. And on my way to that appointment, my car broke down. It's smoking on the side of the road. It was the middle of summertime. I had a newborn baby in the back
Oh,
seat.
this is a bad scenario.
No AC. And all I could think about was, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make it to this appointment, and I'm going to get
Okay.
violated for not making it to this appointment. And in that circumstance, the violation would look like I didn't meet the condition of my probation, which was to get this eval.
Even with your best intentions.
Even with my best intention. But I was
Like there's
borrowing.
no explanation.
Right. The explanation doesn't matter most of the time in those
I
circumstances.
begin to see that.
Yeah, so I was like borrowing a car, and it was 26 years old and it broke down, but none of those details mattered. And so I ended up finding a loophole and getting the evaluation done. And it was just like, such a close call. But like oftentimes those close calls just lead to a violation and someone's back inside.
And you're back on.
And it's worth saying that when you violate, you go back to jail, right? So when we say nobody should be too poor to be free, we're talking about all the ways in which the consequence of your poverty is a
Taking
cage.
you back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
To that cage.
incarceration, right? And that's not
Yes.
solving the problem; it's perpetuating it
Right. And making it worse.
and making it worse.
And I know, well, you have so much outstanding data that you've compiled, but you have set programs that we've sort of talked about, but just tell us, what they are, Lindsay.
Absolutely. So our three main pillars of our work are income, power, and community.
Okay.
People need income to meet their needs, power to reshape the systems that keep them down, and community for a sense of belonging. So our three programs are Just Income, which is a guaranteed income program.
Right.
Just Power, which is our policy work and our fellowship. And then Just Community, which is all of our community building work. And I think to the point that you said about all the
Right.
data that we have, Just Income is our most well-known program, and that's because it was a randomized control trial. Our pilot was done by the University of Pennsylvania, and so out of that pilot, we had 115 people that we gave a guaranteed income to, and then we also had a control group, so we could really see what the impact was.
Right.
And what we learned is that a third of recidivism is due to poverty. So guaranteed income kept people out of prison in a very real way. Of course, there were all kinds of other positive outcomes as well. Sense of mattering, mental health, food
Exactly.
security,
Right.
family unit. I mean, there were all kinds of
One
things.
thing after another, but it all still has to fit together, which is where Community Spring comes in,
Absolutely.
putting all those pieces together.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we did that randomized control trial in 2022. Since then, we've done several other cohorts. We've invested in the community over $1 million.
Oh,
And now
yeah.
we're
Outstanding.
consulting all over the country on how to replicate this program.
A model for the rest of the country.
Exactly.
So important.
And we talk about Community Spring a lot as being locally focused with national implications. And this is what we mean. A national think tank on justice reform just published a piece in their journal that said we need to be replicating what Just Income is doing and what Community Spring is doing in Gainesville, Florida.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
We're going to
thank
take
you.
another quick break.
Absolutely.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're back talking about Community Spring, and I'm pleased to introduce Julius Irving, Community Engagement Coordinator, and welcome back, Kelly Lynch. And good to have you both here. You started as fellows, and now you are part of Community Spring.
Yeah.
It says a lot. It really does. And continue the conversation, Kelly, about Just Power, and help us understand more of those aspects.
Yeah, so Just Power is our program area that is our fellowship, where we hire directly impacted people to come to Community Spring, be paid to become a change maker, and be on the front lines of advocacy work.
Like the two of you.
Like the two of us. And so it's super cool. All of the staff currently at Community Spring is fellowship alumni besides our founders. We've had amazing policy wins that are co-created and led by those of us with records. So the first fair chance hiring ordinance in the state of Florida, eliminating 15 locally imposed fees that you are charged when you go to jail at the Alachua County Jail.
Something I didn't even know existed.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we're a part of making the phone calls free at the jail as well.
Wow. And yes, those are things that perhaps so many of us in this community did not realize. And that, go back a bit about the fair hiring.
The Fair Chance Hiring Ordinance.
Fair Chance Hiring Ordinance. I just want to say the National League of Cities has suggested that this from Gainesville, Florida, be replicated around the country. That is how important it is. That is how much change Community Spring is making, not just in this community, but around the country.
Yeah.
And speaking of community, Julius, tell us about Just Community and your leadership with that.
Okay, in the Just Community Program area, we believe, or we seek to grow community and to bridge the gaps that isolate us so that everyone feels fully valued and a part of the change making process. And a lot of the demographics that we serve have neighborhoods that they're a part of, but not an actual community. And for me, I believe that the difference between a neighborhood and a community is connection, sharing, and civic engagement. So I'm thankful to be a part of this process and to be able to bring some of the resources that I've just personally experienced through Community Spring that has really changed my life. And not just my life, but the life of my family, my neighborhood. And I think one of the most significant things about the Just Community area is that we actually go out in the community and, you know, serve the people in their comfort zone in the areas, you know, so. Yeah.
Oh, that says a lot. What about the letter writing? That's
Okay.
another aspect for the community. How does that work?
Yes, the letter writing event that we do, we write letters of encouragement to our incarcerated community members, just to let them know that first and foremost, this chapter of your life doesn't define your whole story, and to also make them aware of us as a resource in the community and some of our other partner organizations that we work with.
Yep, and anyone from the community is invited to be a part of letter writing.
Another way that we can all be engaged.
Yeah.
I like that. And I saw, by the way, you have an outstanding website, and that there are many times and many ways you're sharing your stories and helping each other. Now, your story itself, Julius, very inspirational, very powerful, and you immediately said you didn't feel you had a community. You felt isolated.
Yeah, for sure. You know,
When you think back
you know, to certain people, whenever you're living at or below the poverty line, you assume that what you need the most is money, which that's true. That's true. But through Community Springs, I got some things that were priceless. You know, like validation, being affirmed that I am somebody. You know,
that you're worthwhile.
that I'm worthwhile and that I have something to offer, and I also gained, like, for the first time in my life, like a real sense of community. You know, and that's how I understood the difference between the neighborhoods I lived in and what a community actually is. And I understood that what I experienced at Community Spring, I could take back to the neighborhood and turn it into a community. Yeah,
and,
for sure.
and help other people.
And help other people, yes.
And I'm sure you feel that way too, Kelly.
Definitely.
Yes, and you're both doing that right now through our Ilene Silverman show, and we are so proud of that. And we're just going to take another quick break, but I want to thank you, Kelly, for all your knowledge, and we appreciate you. And we'll be right back with you, Julius. So stay with us. We'll be right back. We're back talking about Community Spring. And Lindsay, it's changing policy, it's changing the narrative, but it's also the people. Talk more about the people of Community Spring.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you asked, because it's the people who make the movement, right? And
Yes.
I feel so lucky and so blessed to be working alongside such amazing people like Julius, like Kelly, who have taught me so much about what we need to prioritize in our community and where the change needs to be made and focused. And our fellows, you know, you've met two of alumni who have then come on
Yes.
to be staff. We have so many other alumni who have gone on to be leaders in the community, national leaders. I mean, Julius is currently a Represent Justice ambassador, which is a national ambassadorship for people with records who are making documentaries about mass incarceration.
Which he's done.
Which
Yes.
he's done,
In
yes.
progress. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we have another alumni who's also a Represent Justice ambassador. Kelly, who you met earlier,
Right.
is a former Dream.org ambassador
Oh.
or fellow. And so you,
Outstanding.
Kevin, who's our director of guaranteed income, he is now a well sought out leader across the country who does speaking gigs, who is spreading the word about guaranteed income. He's consulted with over 40 different municipalities about how to replicate our work. And so it's
This
not
is amazing.
It's really about building leaders. And we know that the people closest to the problems are closest solutions and are well equipped to be driving that change.
Yes, they are the leaders. But of course, without you, Lindsay, and your husband, Max, there wouldn't be a Community Spring. So you too are the leaders that set that set it in motion.
Yes, I'm so thankful that you said that, because a common thread for everybody that you name, and everybody that you name I know, right? And they're all powerful people, but we have to credit our success to you, Lindsay, because one of the great marks of powerful leaders is that they're able to create other leaders. And you know, the things that you've done for me, I really appreciate. And I've always seen you lift up other people, talk about all the great stuff that we're doing from the background, you know, but I think that you're worth praise. You're worth admiration, and you really mean a lot to me. And you're one of the most impactful leaders of people that I've ever met in my life, right? And if I told my life story and I didn't put you in Community Spring, it wouldn't be complete. Wouldn't be complete. Like, genuinely, I mean this. I mean this. For
Inspirational.
sure. I really mean this.
I really
for sure.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
And,
for sure.
and we need the community to be behind Community Spring. And it seems in the philanthropic nature of our community around the country is not as robust as it was. And you need to keep this going.
Yeah,
For sure.
absolutely.
Speak to that.
So, I mean, we are seeing a real shift in philanthropy nationally. We're feeling that at Community Spring. And, you know, the work that we do here is hard work in a really challenging climate.
Yes.
But we're proving that it's possible, and we're proving that it's necessary. And if we can do it here, it can be done anywhere.
Exactly.
But in order to do this work, we are completely privately funded, which means we
Right.
rely on private foundations and individuals who
Donations.
donate.
Exactly.
One of the most effective fundraising tools is our recurring donor club. So recurring donor, to become
Yes.
a recurring donor club member means that you give every month and you can set it up automatically. And the reason that this is so important is when we have recurring donations, we have steady inflow of money that we can rely
Right.
on, which means we can plan for the
You
future.
know what to expect.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so when we think about that pillar of income that we talked about earlier, that applies to the organization as well. Something that we can plan for, something that is steady, and something that we really rely on. Our donors are important stakeholders who fuel the work that we do.
Exactly. They know the work is important, but to keep it going, you've got to have that momentum of financial support.
Exactly.
Yes. So call out to the community.
Yes.
This is important. And I want to thank you, Lindsay, and you, Julius, and Kelly, and all of Community Spring for enriching our entire community and doing so much. We so appreciate you.
Thank you.
But thank
Appreciate you too.
Yeah.
Many thanks. And I'm so glad you tuned in, and I hope you'll join us next time. Take care.